Space is quite vast.
We're receiving a signal.
On audio,
Oh my God, it's full of stars.
Doc, you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Prepare ship for ludicrous speed.
Into the limitless boundaries of space.
It's in the name of science.
Absolutely marvelous.
The latest result in machine intelligence.
I'll be back.
God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. I am your father. The podcast from Planet
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast from Planet X. My name is Ben, and with me today, as always, is my co-host David.
What's up, guys?
Today is a little bit of a bittersweet episode of Planet X, as it is the final one that we're ever going to record, which it feels weird to say, but
Well,
after this,
I wouldn't say ever.
well, of this podcast, technically, it's ever. We're never going to record another Planet X episode. We can say that definitively.
Okay, sure.
Like we alluded to in the last episode, we are working on another project, but for now, this one is shelved with this episode, which is a little, I don't know, it's weird to say, considering me and David started this podcast with the plan of keeping it going for a good long while, considering our list of 100 movies that we ended up compiling that we were hopefully eventually going to watch. But
And add on to.
yeah. So it's weird saying that it's the final episode, but at the same time, I know we're shelving this for bigger and better things. Yeah, we will, like we said in the last episode, we will announce once that's ready to go out. We'll post the show trailer on this feed to let you guys know. And we'll also be posting it on our Twitter account. But yeah, besides that, this is the last you're going to hear of us. But luckily, we're ending on a high note with Interstellar, a movie that both David and I have some personal history with, which we can get into when we get into our initial thoughts. But first, if you wouldn't mind starting us off with a synopsis there, David.
Alrighty. So, in Earth's future, if I can say this correctly. Oh, goodness gracious. In Earth's future, a global crop blight and second dust bowl are slowly rendering the planet uninhabitable. Professor Brand, aka Michael Caine, a brilliant NASA trying to throw
NASA,
in
huh?
for a loop. If you don't think I know how to say NASA, you're in big trouble.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
A brilliant NASA physicist is working on plans to save mankind by transporting Earth's population to a new home via a wormhole. But first, Brand must send former NASA pilot Cooper, aka Matthew McConaughey, and a team of researchers through the wormhole and across the galaxy to find out which of the 3 planets could be mankind's new home.
All right, so Interstellar stars Matthew McConaughey as Joseph Cooper, Anne Hathaway as Amelia Brand, Jessica Chastain as Murphy Cooper, John Lithgow as Donald, Michael Caine as Professor Brand, David Gyasi as Romilly, Wes Bentley as Doyle, Casey Affleck as Tom Cooper, and Matt Damon as Man. The film was directed by Christopher Nolan and written by Jonathan and Christopher Nolan. And the film was scored by Hans Zimmer and Paul Franklin served as the visual effects supervisor. I think this is one of the first times, maybe the only time, that we've mentioned a visual effects supervisor in this podcast, but it's for very good reason, because the visual effects in this movie are they're top notch. They're fabulous.
Yeah, it's one of the many, 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 many things that I love about this movie. So what are some initial thoughts on this film?
All right. Well, like I said in the intro, David and I have some personal history with this. I think watching it today, even though I kind of watched it broken up, I got the same experience watching it that I did when we were watching it for the first time in the theater. It is an epic film. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This film is nothing but epic. The score, the visual effects, all the acting in the movie is fantastic. The story, the twists and turns and everything. I honestly can't think of a bad thing to say about this movie, except for the first time we saw it when it nearly blew our eardrums out. But other than that, it was it's darn good.
Yeah, it was a bit much seeing it in all its glory in IMAX, but it was just, I don't know. It was either they had a sound issue that day and didn't pay attention, or that's how it's meant to be experienced in IMAX. And if that's how it was meant to be experienced, then somebody needs to rethink that. Because I don't know if Ben had to or not, but I literally had to cover my ears at parts in this film. And I've never had to do that with any other film.
There were even times, like, I was watching it on my phone with headphones in, and there were times when the music swelled that I still had to turn it down. So I think the issue was still partially that they had it up way too loud in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also parts where the music becomes extremely loud in the movie, like almost too loud.
Yeah,
so.
I've noticed that too. I usually have to turn it down during those parts, but it's nothing I can't handle. It was overly loud, yes, but it wasn't like deafening and to the point where it hurt. Marring that bad first experience, as that was the first movie we watched, so I'm kind of surprised we continued to watch movies after that.
Well, I can't think of another IMAX movie that we didn't. Go see after
we
that.
Specifically said we wasn't going to do it again, and we never did.
Man. Well, I don't think the one that they built near my house did it have?
I don't think so.
That's probably most of the reason why, because we didn't have to travel as far, so there was no reason to go see IMAX anymore.
No, but still,
IMAX was an experience, but man, those swells. Ugh.
Yeah, it was a bit much. But
yeah.
Barring all that, it was definitely one of my favorite movies that we've seen in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I attribute it more to the huge relationship that we kind of built off of that. I mean, did the movie come before the computers? Pretty sure it did, didn't it?
It had to have.
It had to have.
Because this was 2014.
Yeah, okay. So I always attribute the computers as to being like the big kickoff, but it's really not. It was mostly the movie.
I think that helped cemented it, but Interstellar and all the movies were definitely the kickoff.
Yeah, which I'm still thankful for to this day. So it's hard to attribute my love for this movie to it's a damn good movie because it is, or if I just have fond memories of it because of our friendship being formed, basically cemented from that. But whatever
I'd have to say it's probably a little bit of both.
It probably is.
But the movie is still, even outside of the fact that it, started our friendship, it's a fantastic movie. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about
No.
it.
Love it.
It's
Absolutely love
great.
it.
All right, so we'll move on to our first talking point here. The visual effects company Double Negative, which worked on Inception, was brought back for Interstellar. According to visual effects supervisor Paul Franklin, the number of effects in the film was not much greater than in Nolan's The Dark Knight Rises 2012 or Inception. However, for Interstellar, they created the effects first, allowing digital projectors to display them behind the actors rather than having the actors perform in front of green screens. Ultimately, the film contained 850 visual effects shots at a resolution of 5,600 by 4,000 lines. 150 shots that were created in camera using digital projectors, and another 700 were created in post production. What part of the visual effects were you most impressed with?
I always liked the bending of the light and the entire space-time continuum around Gargantua. That just always looked beautiful, and you get that remarkable like mirrored effect, and it's stunning. I absolutely love that part. I think the room scene is also pretty good, but it was intentionally
infinite,
blurred, but it was
the
too
infinite
blurry
room
to
thing.
Yeah, and what was her name? Murph.
Murphy.
Yeah, Murph.
Yeah.
It was intentionally blurry, and I understand why they did it the way they did it. But it kind of made it hard to understand in the beginning what was going on there. And it made sense later on, and it's great. And that's still a huge effect that I absolutely love. But I don't know. I just love the wormhole stuff. It looked beautiful. Oh, the wormhole, too. That was really cool. I almost forgot about that.
I think the thing with the beginning of the whole infinite room thing, I think the reason why they made it the way they did, so blurry, was to kind of amplify the confusion. So you could kind of empathize with Cooper and what he's going through, because he doesn't understand what's going on at all.
No.
At first.
And that could be
and then once he kind of figures it out and he starts talking to Tars and everything, you can see everything a lot more clearly and see exactly what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps. It helps you connect with Cooper as a character in that moment more. So, I do agree with you. Gargantua is fantastic. I absolutely love that. There's no doubt about it that's probably the best visual effects shot in the film. I think the entire water planet part is really fantastic too, especially those giant water waves. Those are spectacular. I still have, I don't know. It's just good.
They didn't look like special effects, did they?
No, they didn't. It looked like, I mean, obviously that's the whole point of the visual effects, but I didn't even think about it when I was watching the movie. I was like, oh, yep, there's water. Yep, the waves are like 6 miles high. Yep. Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it felt like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, jeez. Whew.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say those are probably the standouts for me. The whole thing on Man's Planet was pretty cool, but I mean, it just looked like a bunch of ice. I don't really know how much visual effects there were. So
yeah.
Let's see. The robots were really cool. Tars and Case and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they moved around and kind of were able to I don't know, bend into different weird shapes and fold out their bodies or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they had a lot more shapes and appendages, so to speak, than I ever would have thought possible, given the shape that they were in.
Yeah, no kidding.
Can't remember who had to go back after Brand. to go get her before that wave came in, but
I'm pretty sure that was Case.
it could have been Case. And I don't know, it was like 6 times the length of his legs the first time. It's like, wow, holy cow. There's a lot of folding going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's probably it for the best visual effects shots in the film, I would have to say.
Alrighty. Let's move on to some scientific elements, shall we? Regarding the concept of wormholes and black holes, Kip Thorne stated that he worked on the equations that would enable tracing of light rays as they traveled through a wormhole or around a black hole. So what you see is based on Einstein's general relativity equations. Early in the process, Thorne said, he laid down 2 guidelines. First, that nothing would violate established physical laws, and second, that there are wild speculations that would spring from science and not from the fetal mind of a screenwriter. And I think he did a really good job with that, too.
Yeah.
And then Nolan accepted these terms as long as they did not get in the way of making the film. I guess that would be high priority. He can't mess up the film, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
At one point, Thorne spent 2 weeks trying to talk Nolan out of an idea about a character traveling faster than light before Nolan finally gave up. According to Thorne, the element which is the highest degree of artistic freedom is the clouds of ice on one of the planets they visit, which are structures that would go beyond the material strength that ice could. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. It seemed pretty
scientifically accurate to me.
It
but then
seemed
again,
pretty
what do I
solid
know?
to me. I mean, it was clouds that were frozen. I mean, I don't know that I'd question it. Do you think the
Who knows?
producers did a good job with the instance of realism, or did they hurt it in the long run?
I mean, I can't really think of anything. I didn't see any instances of that made it feel like anybody was being stifled by the insistence on realism or anything.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, the only I mean, I don't know. The whole traveling faster than light thing is like typical in science fiction, but I don't think I'm glad that he was talked out of it, because the whole movie teaches you that there isn't really like a villain necessarily. The movie's villain is time. That's what everybody's fighting against in the movie. So the fact that someone would be able to travel faster than light would kind of defeat that purpose, because then it would be like, well, why didn't everybody just do that? You know?
Yeah, I could see that. The whole idea of trying to stick to realism also helps in the fact that it supports the overall storyline of the plan A versus plan B. How do we get plan A to work, get everybody off the planet and take them somewhere else, versus plan B and just start the colony thing? If you're going to bend the rules in any shape and form that you want, then why couldn't you just bend the rules on gravity? Why would that need to be a plot point? And sticking with the known laws, I think, supports the plot line that they had. Now, can you do what they did? I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to know. It very well may be possible. God knows what the future's going to bring. But I don't know. I think they did a really good job of sticking to fact, and I like it for that. I mean, except for the clouds of ice, I don't think anything could have been mistaken for. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have waves 1,000 feet high on a planet, hopefully. But I liked it. It was something that could make sense. And if you had enough gravitational forces, sure, you could get waves 1,000 feet high too. What do you think the tides are? So I could see it. It just depends.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Let's see. Okay. To create the visual effects for the wormhole and a rotating supermassive black hole possessing an ergosphere as opposed to a non rotating black hole, Thorne collaborated with Franklin and a team of 30 people at Double Negative, providing pages of deeply sourced theoretical equations to the engineers, who then wrote new CGI rendering software based on these equations to create accurate simulations of the gravitational lensing caused by these phenomena. Some individual frames took up to 100 hours to render, totaling 800 terabytes of data. Thorne described the accretion disk of the black hole as anemic and at low temperature, about the temperature of the surface of the sun, allowing it to emit appreciable light but not enough gamma radiation and X-rays to threaten nearby astronauts and planets. The resulting visual effects provided Thorne with new insight into the gravitational lensing and accretion disks surrounding black holes, resulting in the publication of 3 scientific papers. What are your thoughts surrounding the appearance of the black hole and the effects of the black hole on Cooper?
The effects surrounding it, to me, totally made sense. I could see why you would have the bending of the light, and I could see why Einstein's theory of relativity would have such traumatic results as far as space and time were concerned, because they literally lost decades going down to the water planet just because of how close they were to the black hole. And it all and I didn't take a lot of physics, but from a student that did take physics in high school, it all made sense to me. The only thing that didn't make any sense to me is the effects on Cooper himself, because we're told black holes, and we don't exactly know 100%, but it's pretty solid that they are so depressingly heavy that I don't know what the effects of gravity on Cooper would be other than to like completely squash him like a bug. So I never understood that part of it. How do we send Cooper and TARS into this black hole and not have any like major effects? I mean, he's on the other side of Saturn when we meet him next, picked up by one of the stations that have left Earth in the time that it took for all this to happen because of how much time they lost.
Yeah.
Relative to Earth. And it's like, that's the only part that doesn't make any sense to me. But it's also the part that we're never going to have answers to. At least, not that I think we will. I mean,
no,
who knows?
I don't think we will.
1,000 years, maybe.
I mean, clearly their explanation was like future humans way in the future built this thing and then he like willed it to himself or something. I think maybe a more plausible explanation is that like he got maybe sucked into a wormhole, like a purpose-built wormhole, and was sent to this thing, and then was sent back out of it once he did what he needed to do.
I could buy that. That's not what was explained or said.
Yeah.
But I mean, would also make sense considering he did make it on the other side of Saturn. I mean,
if these future humans can build
these Tezzeracts,
if they can build that, and it's already implied that they put the wormhole by Saturn in the first place. So it's entirely plausible that they could put a wormhole within reach of a black hole. Have it stay stable.
Yep.
And then suck Cooper into where he's like put into this Tesseract now, does what he needs to do, and then gets thrown back out next to Saturn. So
yeah, it's possible.
I don't know. Like you said, we're probably never ever going to know.
Not in our lifetimes.
Yeah, no, not even close. Especially not with the people in power that we have. Defunding NASA and everything. But what do I know? Anyway, yeah. We're never gonna know, but I don't know. I can buy it just because they kind of put the building blocks there with the wormhole and everything. So yeah, I don't know.
I could buy that. I could buy that. What did you think about the effects around the black hole? I know I gave my spiel on it. What did you think? Not on Cooper himself, but just the appearance and stuff.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I mean, it like you said, neither of us are like experts in physics or anything, but it seems like it makes sense to me. I've always thought of like a black hole as like this spinning sort of tornado like looking thing, but I mean, who knows, man? I mean, Kip Thorne is supposed to be an astrophysicist, so I'm sure he would know
Yep.
more about it than we would. You know,
I'm gonna let
I would
Neil
hope
deGrasse
so.
Tyson explain this to me on the Science Channel one day. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. It ain't gonna be you or me on the Science Channel trying to explain this.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, but no, the black hole it's gorgeous. It looks
love it.
absolutely stunning.
Yes, like everything else in this film. Alrighty, so probably my next favorite thing in this entire movie, beyond the visual effects, would definitely have to be the score. So, composer Hans Zimmer, who also scored Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy and Inception from 2010, returned to score Interstellar, and Nolan chose not to provide Zimmer with the script or any plot details for the writing the film's music, but instead gave the composer a single page that told the story of a father leaving his child for work. It was through this connection that Zimmer created the early stages of the Interstellar soundtrack. Zimmer and Nolan later decided that a 1926 4-channel Harrison and Harrison organ would be the primary instrument for the score. Zimmer conducted 45 scoring sessions for Interstellar, 3 times more than for Inception. In your opinion, what is the best part of good God, Interstellar score? Help me.
So obviously we have that recurring theme throughout the movie, but I think the most effective version of the theme is when they're going down to the water planet, when they're like on the water planet. They've got the main theme going on, but in the background you can hear this ticking clock. So you can it kind of gives the scene a definite urgency.
Yes.
So I was trying to think about that when I was watching the movie today. That's definitely the one that stuck out the most for me.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. You're spot on, because the overall theme, and I love it. I don't know why, but anything that is like piano or organ music of any type, I don't know why, but it like touches my soul in ways that other instruments can't. And I've never been able to explain why anything with the piano automatically gets my approval, but it does. And organs are no different. And it's effective and it's good, but it doesn't change much, and it doesn't need to. And I love it for its simplicity. But I think you're right. This is the one scene where it's like, time is ticking. We gotta go, because we are literally burning years down here. And you're right, that ticking clock in the background and all that, it just paces it so nicely. And it's like the one time where you gotta get going, because if you don't, you're SOL. You are literally costing the lives of people back on Earth if you take too long here.
Yeah, which clearly happened because they took 27 years to get back up, but you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it also it burned too much fuel. It set the stage for the expectation that now we only have time to visit one more planet. We can't venture to all 3 like we were originally going to. One's already a bust. Now you got to pick between the 2 that are left. And if you make the wrong mistake, how do you come back from that? So I like that it set that urgency too.
Yeah,
It's really important scene.
All right. Well, I think it's time for us to get into our final thoughts here. Do you want to go first?
Okay, so as we've alluded to many times already, but it's just going to be something I always gush about. Interstellar has just an important place in my heart for so many reasons. I enjoy this film a lot. And I didn't watch it for this episode specifically, but it's because I didn't need to. I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times this last year alone. And Lord knows how many times before that. It's something I will literally just turn on just because I want to watch something. And there's not a lot of films that I will do that for. But this is one of them. And it's just, I love the score. I love the effects. I love the characters. It's such an important thing to them. They do such a good job with it. You can feel the emotion throughout it. And I also just, I don't know. It's just, I love it for so many different reasons. And I want to contribute them all to the film just to give the film the credit it deserves. But I also just think it's also part of our relationship too. I just love the fact that this cemented that. And I don't know. It's probably a mixture of the two.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what would you give it out of? You know what? Out of 5 wormholes.
Out of 5 wormholes. Um, I know I've done this before, and I didn't, and I said then I don't think I'll find another movie that I can do this for. But I didn't think we'd get to Interstellar either, given that we knew what was happening even when we made that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna give it a 5. I really am. It's just I can't find anything to ever complain about in this movie. It's so solid in my opinion, and I don't know, it's just always it's gonna be in a special place in my heart till the day I die. And I just know that that's the most important thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a 5 for me.
Okay, so, um, yeah, I don't know if I can really add, add anything on to what you said. It's just that it's a damn good movie, you know?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything to say beyond if you somehow haven't seen this movie, you got no reason not to watch it. It is a long watch, granted, but for the runtime that it is, it honestly doesn't feel that long. Like there's movies that feel their runtime. This is not one of those, in my opinion.
No, there's so much that happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't really take it doesn't take a break.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you a whole lot of time to process.
It doesn't feel like there's a wasted moment in this movie. There's not a wasted frame of film.
No, and
at all.
And it's not that it's like rushing through anything, because it's not.
No.
It's just it's so well put together, and every little detail adds to the next, and it complements every scene complements the other scene. There's not a 5-minute tangent of something that easily could have been cut out just because you could have. It's just it's beautiful, and I love it.
Yeah, I can't. There's not like there's not a detail in this movie that doesn't need to be there. There's, like I said, there's not a wasted second in this movie. So, for my final rating, I would have to say I'd have to give it a 5 too. I don't think there's anything else I can't give it, honestly. I can't. I don't know if this is the first.
I think it is.
At least in this podcast.
Yeah. And I, for the life of me, can't remember what the other 5 rating was for me at the moment.
I don't know.
But I didn't think I'd have another one. And I wasn't thinking we'd get to Interstellar either. And the more I think about it, it's like, oh my gosh, how am I going to rate this any lower than that? Like, I got to find something to nitpick during this podcast if I'm going to give it like a 4.5, and I just can't. There's nothing.
Yeah, the only thing that we can nitpick is the audio volume sometimes. But, like, honestly, that doesn't really... For me, it doesn't really take away anything. It's just like, it's a momentary distraction, and then I get sucked immediately back in.
Yeah. I just attribute that to personal taste more than anything else. I don't.
Yeah.
If it's a flaw, fine. Call it a flaw if you want, but maybe I just don't like my music as loud as somebody else. And you know what? That's fine, because I wasn't the kid at the back of the bus blaring my headphones so loud that you could hear it at the front, because I was the kid at the front listening to the crap in the back. So
I know what you mean.
that's why I have my hearing to this day, and most of my friends don't. But anyway.
All right. Well, that is the end of this episode and the end of the this iteration of this podcast, I guess you could say.
It's bittersweet. It's been fun doing this, and I wouldn't have traded it for anything else. I was kind of somewhat skeptical at the beginning, especially after the first 1 or 2 episodes, but
yeah,
I love it. It's been fun, and I'm glad that we are going to continue with something in its memory, basically. And we also have Podcast Period, and if you don't listen to that, you really should, because we have a lot of fun with that episode too. More fun with that sometimes than we can with this, because we like to poke the stick at the bear.
That's crazy talk. We would never do that.
And Intel.
Yeah.
And other corporations. We've actually poked the stick at a lot of corporations on that, haven't we?
I think there's more corporations that we've nitpicked than there's ones that we've praised on the podcast. Honestly,
probably. And you know what? There's more to come. So tune into that, guys, because that's always fun. And that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no, not if we have anything to say. Yeah,
exactly. It'll be a cold, dark day in hell before we give that one up.
All right, well, yeah, that's where we're going to leave you guys. Like I said at the beginning, whenever we do have news to announce on this new project, you guys will be the first to know. We're going to drop the trailer in this feed whenever we get it together. It could be a couple of months. It's probably going to be a couple of months before you hear anything from us, but
probably. But we are actively working on it, so it is going to happen.
We are, and we have been actively
for
working
a while. For a while now.
So, thank you guys so much for listening. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, you can leave a rating if you want to, but there's not really any point now. So just check out the new project when it drops. And we hope to see you guys in our next adventure.
I don't think I could have said it any better. We appreciate you guys, and thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a wrap. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast from Planet X. We are hosted, edited, and produced by Ben Mason and co-hosted by David Knowles. Our theme song is produced by the Tormented Teamster. You can follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Plays Vidus. That's Ben Plays VIDYAS. And you can follow David on Twitter at Car6x16. If you want to keep the conversation going, you can contact the show on Twitter at PlanetXPod or by email at podcastfromplanetx@gmail.com. That's all for this episode. We'll see you next time.